Good evening and welcome. Earlier this afternoon, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan said that for last 7 days, 180 districts in the country have not seen a single new case of COVID-19. 18 districts have not recorded any cases in the last 14 days, while 54 districts have not witnessed any new cases in the last 21 days. This statement and the statistics released by the Government of India on Friday has shown a plateauing trend in 15 states and union territories, and we will have those graphics up on our screens as well. While 18 states are witnessing a spike, this evening we have with us Professor M. Vidyasagar, who is part of a committee that was constituted by the Department of Science and Technology to evolve a national supermodel for COVID-19. In fact, he is the one who has been projecting the graphs of the COVID-19 progression in the country. And also joining us this evening is Dr. Anshuman Kumar. He's the Director and Chief Cancer Surgeon at Dharamshila Hospital. Both these experts are going to take us through the graphs and also talk about the measures that we can take in the coming days. My first question would be to Professor M. Vidyasagar, I beg your pardon. Professor Vidyasagar, a couple of days back you were on our channel as well and we had discussed the projections. Yesterday, the Health Ministry released a set of graphs. Now, these graphs, we will put a special focus on Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Delhi because we know until the last 2 weeks, these were the places that were most affected by the COVID cases. Now, we're going to compare the real-time numbers and also the projections that were made by you. Now, if you go through the graphs that were released by the Health Ministry, by the Government of India on Friday, are the real-time projections in sync with what you projected earlier this week?
There isn't very much of a deviation, as you see, on Thursday. This is Mumbai graph. Okay. I thought you were going to show the All India graph. So in terms of the Mumbai graph, there hasn't been a whole lot of departure. Mumbai continues to do somewhat better than we had anticipated. I thought you were going to ask about the All India graph, where this morning, yesterday's numbers came in, and they were lower than day before yesterday and the day before that. So we think that perhaps the peak might shift by a day or 2 or 3, something like that. But we still do believe that the total number of cases nationwide is reaching the plateau and will begin to show a decrease soon. The question that we do not yet know is, will it be a very flat peak so that it will stay at the peak for a few days? Or will it be a sharp peak so that it will show a decrease immediately? Current indications seem to be that it will be at a plateau for maybe a few days before beginning to show a decrease.
So, Professor M. Vidyasagar, are you saying that the states that are witnessing a plateauing trend right now, would you say that these states would also witness a downward spiral in the coming days?
Can you just say it again? I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Would I say what, sorry?
Professor Vidyasagar, I was asking if the states like the state of Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, which are now witnessing a plateau, which have sort of flattened the curve, do you think it will bend downwards? The curve will bend downwards? Are we expecting the cases to decrease in the coming days, or do you think there are chances of the curve going upwards as well?
Oh, I see. Thank you. I apologize for not catching you the first time. We expect, of course, that once we see the plateau, it should be followed by a decrease because most of the factors that will cause the cases to rise are pretty much being taken into account. The only factor that would cause the number of reported cases to rise would be if some of these states ramp up their testing so that previously undetected patients now get detected and thereby show an apparent increase in the number of patients. I should just point out that in our model, we actually do try to estimate the number of these undetected patients. We don't show those graphs because it would be too complicated. Anyway, to cut a long answer short, yes, we expect that those states that are plateauing now actually show a decrease.
So, Professor M. Vidyasagar, what I'm gathering from what you're saying is that we're expecting expecting the numbers to decrease further in the coming weeks. Dr. Anshuman Kumar, my next question would be to you. What do you think? Have these states done right to plateau the trend?
Yeah, perfectly fine. When we look at the world epidemiology, we are just lagging 3 or 3.5 months behind United Kingdom. When we review the case, what occurred in December end and January 1st because of United Kingdom, normally the people of United Kingdom cross 120 days to reach that level. Now Maharashtra has reached almost close to 120 days. Delhi is reaching, followed by Uttar Pradesh. But eastern state of India may require 20-25 days further. But there are multiple confounding factors when we consider epidemiological and virus spread. Means massive migration of unexposed population to a new territory, vaccination drive, and maybe coming off a fast transaction like train and air travel. If it keep on increasing, or you start many gathering like happened in the past, like Shahi Snan or any mall, any theater, that may be a confounding factor. And then rather than decreasing the curve, they may give up. Therefore, still it's applicable. Follow your self-disciplinary behavior and follow the appropriate COVID-appropriate behavior. That's most important.
Yes, certain curbs are definitely necessary to ensure that we maintain the trajectory. Professor M. Vidyasagar, we've spoken about the states that are plateauing, but there are as many as 18 states, as pointed out by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, that are witnessing an upward trajectory. Now, what are your projections on these trends? Did you expect these states? Like there are many states from the northeast that are witnessing an upward trajectory. Did you, in your projections, expect this trend there?
Yes, definitely. For the convenience of Republic TV, I shared just an aggregated all India projection, but we do much more detailed projections. We do individual projections for every single state. We do individual projections for the top 150 districts by population in India. And we also do projections for large metros like Mumbai, for example. So when I say that the overall number of cases is expected to peak, this does not at all mean that every single state is peaking. Far from it, as you have correctly pointed out, even at a state like Maharashtra is showing a very definite downward trend. Other states like Karnataka are showing an upward trend. And within Karnataka, the city of Bangalore is showing a very high upward trend. The northeastern states and the Himalayan states, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, they are also showing an upward trend. Because they are small states, these numbers do not massively affect the national total, but viewed as percentages, they are definitely on the upward trend. So we have to watch those states very carefully, and we do make these projections and we share them with the public.
Yes, thank you, Professor M. Vidyasagar, for answering that question. Dr. Anshuman Kumar, taking forward this question and the inputs given by Professor M. Vidyasagar, do you think that the states that are witnessing a spike should do more so as to ensure that the trend there plateaus as well? Because we've seen states like Karnataka and the numbers are really alarming, and Karnataka government has extended the lockdown as well. There, do you think strict curbs like this, like a lockdown measure, would ensure that the trend plateaus there?
Yeah. First of all, we should understand the basis behind lockdown. What is the purpose of lockdown? There are only three purposes. One is mitigation, second is preparedness, and third is testing. You can mitigate the speed, you can reduce the speed, you can mitigate the new infected cases. At the same time, if healthcare facilities not taking the appropriate load of the infected cases in the country or particularly state or district, then we have to ramp up the health facility. And third is testing, so that you can trace it, isolate it, contain it. For those states showing upward trajectory, they have to make it more meticulous. always try to understand lockdown is not the management of corona. It requires just for the three purposes, as I mentioned it, but people behavior is very important. Coordination and cooperation with the agencies, those who are executing the laws at the same time. 3T is very important at the same time when we have to flatten the curve or reduce it. Transparency, togetherness, and tracking and isolating the case. These are still stands true across the world. We have to follow that.
Yes, ramping up testing and tracking measures definitely very important to keep a track on the numbers in different states. Professor M. Vidyasagar, my final question to you would be, are there any, has India reached the peak? Because as per your projection that you'd given, that you'd shared with us last week, we are expected to reach the peak in the mid of May, but we've already witnessed some above 4 lakh cases. And we've also seen some over 4,000 deaths. The death count today is probably the highest daily spike in deaths that we've witnessed. And we also read a report, a Lancet report, which says that India could see even more deaths. So what is your projection on it? What is a government expert panel projection on the various inputs that we are getting, not just from India, but also from the global community on India's trend?
Before I answer your question, may I just say that I totally agree with Dr. Kumar that crowd behavior is very, very important. It is not somebody else's job to build the corona. It is the job of all of us. I'm very pleased to hear you say that. So now coming back to your question, first of all, please remember that we take a 7-day moving average because the daily data tends to be very spiky. And our projection has always been that the 7-day moving average will peak at something of the order of 4 years, just a little over 4 years. And we are pretty much on track. Nothing much has changed in that. In terms of death, please remember that death today reflects the number of cases of about 10-12 days ago. Because in order for the person to either recover or feel to recover, it takes about 10-12 days. The third point I wanted to mention, I have read this Lancet report and I'm smiling because, you see, in the first wave, which essentially started in about March of 2020, and you can say it roughly ended on March of 2021, when the current wave began, we lost something close to 160,000 people, 1.6 lakh people. From the onset of the second wave till now, we have lost another 81,000 people. So if the decline is symmetric with respect to the rise, we would expect that in the second wave, we would again lose something of the order of 1.6 lakh people. The reason why the deaths in the second wave are increasing on the consciousness of the people is because whereas the first wave was very gentle, it grew over about 3.5 to 4 months, and again decreased over a 3.5 to 4 months period. This particular wave has been very short. It climbed in about month and a half, and therefore the daily death rate is higher, even though the total number of deaths during the ascendant phase of the wave are quite comparable to what it was in the first wave. Now, in terms of the Lancet report, they claim that million Indians are going to die. My reaction to that is, I don't know how to even measure something like that, because people make these predictions when the actual numbers don't come anywhere close to the reported numbers. The standard tactic is to say that it is being underreported, it is being begun, this thing, that thing. You know, in science there is a fundamental premise, which is that if you make a statement that cannot be falsified, it's not true. Therefore, for someone to say, I'm going to make a prediction of 1 million deaths, and if the actual reported numbers are less than 1 million, I'm going to claim that this is underrepresented and underreported, hidden, all that kind of thing. I'm sorry, but that kind of a thought doesn't interest me.
Yes. Professor M. Vidyasagar, another question that I have on top of my head right now, because we're talking about the second wave and bending the curve. Are we expecting, do you have any projections for a possible third wave? Because government, the task force has also warned us about a third wave, but they are not sure about the time scale. But do you have any projections ready for a possible third wave in the country?
So let's put it this way. Over the last 15 months or so that COVID has been with us, it has kind of transformed itself from one-time disease to an endemic disease. What I mean by that is, it is a disease that is never going to fully die up. So that means it will go down, it will go up, then it will go down. And part of the driving forces are the loss of immunity. So when people recover from the corona, they have some immunity for some period of time. And you see the official statistics are in the first wave of approximately 1.5 crore people recovering. That is only a small part of the actual number of people who contracted a very, very mild asymptomatic form. So those people have immunity, had immunity as well. But now those will be gone and they are susceptible once again. So that is why we have a second wave. And if you don't do anything, then in another 6 to 8 months, the same batch of people will once again lose their immunity and be susceptible. So what we have to do in this window is give vaccination so that the level of susceptibility becomes sufficiently low that even if there is an uptick of cases, it will not be anything like what we have now. Now, it is easier said than done because if you look at both US and UK, they have not only had second wave, they have had massive third wave. In the third wave of COVID, their daily case total was about 250,000 people. That's like 1 million people a day in India because US is a quarter of our population. In the UK, at the peak of their third wave, they had 65,000 people. And UK is 1/20 of our population. That's like India having 1.3 million cases per day. So somehow those countries have also failed to anticipate and reduce their third wave. That is not an excuse for us. We have to analyze their data and all data, take away the correct learning. And what we should try to do, the phrase I like to use now is, we will have a third increase in the number of cases, but we must make sure that it is a third bump and not a third wave. If we can do that, we should be happy. That's what I would say.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor, for answering those questions. Dr. Anshuman, final question as we close this segment, because as we see signs of recoveries, we are also seeing newer concerns like the deadly black fungus. Are there red flags that people should still watch out for as far as COVID recoveries and this entire situation is concerned?
Pardon, didn't get you what is it exactly?
Yeah, sir, my question was about as we are seeing more recoveries, as we see signs of recoveries, because our recovery rate is also quite good, but we're also seeing newer concerns like that of the deadly black fungus. So are there any red flags that people should watch out for?
Yeah. The more the people are immunocompromised, like cancer patients, diabetic patients, and even after COVID infection, we are getting more and more cases. Practically, we call it mucormycosis, affecting eye-operated few cases. There is a loss of jawbone and lung fungal infection. They're increasing because of immunocompromise. Number two, people are excessively using hand sanitizer. Mixed with isopropyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol, that increasing the hand fungal infection. There are a lot of fungal infection, nothing, it's kind of commensal present in the environment. If you get a deficient or breakage in the immune system or suppressed immune system, just it gets ramped up. Therefore, we have to be very watchful. Even after recovery of COVID, you get any symptom of persistent cough, fever, chest pain, or anywhere in the body, any kind of abnormal symptoms, must consult because fungal infection in post-COVID era is increasing day by day.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Professor M. Vidyasagar and Dr. Anshuman Kumar, for joining us in this broadcast of The Biggest Story and sharing your views on the plateauing of the trend as well as the medical concerns that people might have. Thank you very much for joining us in this very informative Biggest Story edition.